Hello and welcome to the Complete Lakers podcast. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. So it's the All Star break. The Lakers are 33 and 21 after beating the Mavericks in their last game before the break. What can I say? Lakers have been overall. It's pretty good when you think about the fact that the big three have all missed uh, time. You know, Luka's missed 12 games total, and he hasn't missed big chunks the way that the way that Austin and LeBron have. But those 12 games missed, LeBron and Austin have missed more games than Luka has. So, when you think about that, if they're going to be 33 and 21, things could be worse, but I think the schedule gets tougher in the second half of the season. They don't play again until Friday against the Clippers. So what I wanted to do was take this opportunity to give out some mid-season awards, um, all NBA as well as awards for the season. And I'll start with my all NBA first team. So remember, now all NBA is positionless now. Back in the day, it'd be two guards, two forwards, and a center. Then it became two guards and three front court players, and now it's positionless. So my All NBA first team is Shea Gilgeous, Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown, Nikola Jokic, and Donovan Mitchell. So the first three are pretty much, no brainers. I like to reward guys who play basketball, right? So, Shea, Cade, and Jalen, I think are also be the top three candidates for MVP, they've all played 49 games at the midway point. Now, of course, when I say the midway point, it's not really the midway point, right? All these teams have played at least 50 games. But you treat the All Star game like a basically it's not the halfway point of the season technically, because technically if it were, it'd be the 41 game mark. But because it's the All Star break, we usually pretty much treat that as like the mid season, mid part of the season. And like I said, those three guys have all played 49 games, so they're available and they're all putting up great numbers. Shea's second in the league in scoring for the Thunder were 42 and 14. Cade Cunningham averaging 25 points and I think 10 assists. And the Pistons are the number one seed in the East at 40 and 13. And then Jaylen Brown, when he's done, he's having his Scottie Pippen year. Not only with Jason Tatum being out, but they shipped Porzingis out. They shipped Drew Holiday out, this previous offseason. And he has his Celtics at 35 and 19, when the next best players on the team besides him have been Derek White, who's shooting 39%, and then Peyton Pritchard, and he has them at 35 and 19. They're like a half a game behind the Knicks for number two in the East, I guess I'll say what I have to say about his MVP case for when I get to that part of the episode. And I had the Nikola Jokic. Now Joker, he's only played 39 games, so he's already missed 15 or 16 games. He has there'll be one or two more games he's allowed to miss before he's not even eligible for postseason awards. It was notable to me that the second he was able to come back, they said he'd be reevaluated in 4 weeks after he had rescinded his knee. The second he was able to come back, he was back on the court. I think number one, because he's just itching to play, And number two, I think maybe he might be somebody who cares about these post, these regular season awards. Um, but and I thought about not having him on there because he has missed 15, uh, 16 games. But I mean, his numbers are so out of this world. He's averaging like 29, 12, and 10, which is the same thing he averaged last year. He's just such a dominant player. You know, and I just mentioned Jason Tatum not being there. See, I think the situation with Tatum, where he said that he wasn't sure if he wanted to come back and disrupt the chemistry that this team has built up, the Celtics have built up without him this season. And I think Joker, when he missed those 4 weeks, right? And I said while he was out that I thought that um, that it was almost like a blessing in disguise because he got to sit back and see and go, oh well, some of these guys are better than I thought. It was Peyton Watson; he can really play. You know, obviously Jamal Murray's having a career year, and so when he comes back, he's maybe able to look at it and go, maybe I don't have to average a 30-point triple double. But when he came back, it kind of did throw off the rhythm that they were in without him. And it's just like it's impossible for him to really shrink because he's such a big piece. You know, so it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works itself out in the second half of the season. Um, but I think it's clear they don't need him averaging 30 points a game. You know, uh, but he has to try to figure out how he can fit in with um, like I said, the dynamic that they were able to achieve while he was out, because the more he uses those other guys, the more those other guys are able to help him. Like I said, Peyton Watson and guys like that, the better Denver will be. You know, uh, in the past, after they won a championship, and they're always a team that contends in the West. It was a lot of Joker, and then everybody else just kind of playing off of him. Um, but the more freedom that guys have to kind of create their own shots and do their own stuff, it's only going to make his job easier, and it's only going to make their team better, right? Now, when it comes to the last All NBA first team spot, I ended up choosing Donovan Mitchell because I like that he's played 41, he's played 51 games, I should say. He's only missed 4 games. Luka has missed 12 games, as I said. Uh, we'll see. Luka's going to play in the All Star game, so he'll be ready to go second half of the season from the Clippers game onward, and we'll see if he can uh, stay healthy enough. He'll have 5 more games that he can miss and still be eligible because the rule is 65 games. Um, he's having a great year as always, 33, 8-8, which is insane. But that's pretty much what you expect out of a healthy Luka Doncic season. And once again, 12 games missed. Like I said, he has 5 more games to miss and still be eligible. We'll see if he even cares about that. But I guess you'd have to say when I always remember when I was a kid, and I didn't know better. I was looking at Charles Barkley's like his games played by year, and I go, well, he only played 80. He never played 82 games, or he played 82 games. I forgot what I said. And my dad goes, well, 82 games is a lot. How about 70 games? And so I would I would use 70 games as the benchmark for whether somebody had basically like a, pretty much they played a full season basically. But when I was a kid, there were years where Kobe, this was before they made the 65 game year rule. There were years where Kobe would play, 65 games and he made first team All NBA. Same thing with Shaq, but there wasn't much competition for Shaq at the center position. I think there was a year when I think maybe when Shaq was in Miami, he played like 59 games and still made it. But to me, even still, I would look at that as sort of like a, if you play 65, 66 games, I would look at somebody's in like their basketball reference. That'd be like a year where it's like, damn, they play 66 games. You want to see a guy at least play at least 70, 72 games, something like that. And that's more like a full season to me. But since the rule says now 65 games, I consider 65 games to be like pretty much like, you played a full season. You obviously 82 games would really be a full season, but I'm saying like more loosely. Um, so 12 games, we'll see what happens. But, Luka, because I get to watch Luka every single game now. And I've said a lot about him already about how his energy is is bad. He's like the way that Austin Reaves plays, his his energy, and you see it like the way the crowd responds to Austin Reaves when he hits a three or does something on the court is just, I mean, the reaction he gets is, I mean, there's nobody else on the team who gets that type of reaction. You know, he provides a certain spark to the team, to the crowd. You know, and Luca, uh, I mean, he might get more oohs and ahs when he's hitting those step back threes and stuff like that. But it's not the same thing as Austin. And plus, I mean, none of them play defense, but that doesn't help either. But energy is contagious, and guys start playing harder um, when when I mean, like Austin. I don't forget who it was who we were playing against when Luca tweaked his hamstring. I think it was the Sixers. But the thing about it is that the second Luca left the game, the Lakers all instantly picked up. They started playing harder. Guys were hustling and running around and stuff like that. And I feel like Austin Reeves is he kind of he's a spark for that more than somebody like Luca. Luca kind of has like the opposite effect because his game is such a it's weird because he's so productive, but his game is so it's such a lull you to sleep type of game, and it kind of rubs off on the team in a negative way. Donovan Mitchell is someone who I see. I used to bet on. I mean, I still will bet on him. But what I didn't like about Donovan Mitchell was that it seemed like he would kind of he would do what he had to do when he had to do it. So he might come out and get first half, and he might have 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. You know, and then he'll pick it up if he has to pick it up. But I would appreciate it more if he would just come out every night and just do what he can do. Obviously, he's a top 10 player, 15 player in the league. He's averaging 29 points a game. I would appreciate it more as a better if he would come out every night and lead with a certain amount of intensity, and come out strong. But that's just me being selfish as a better. And at the end of the day, he and Luka probably like the opposite of each other. Like Luka will come out and get 20 points in the first quarter and then only score 14 points the rest of the game. Mitchell will come out, score 6 points in the first half, and then I end up with 28, 30, 35 even. If they need him to do that. But at the end of the day, I just like that he's been more available. They're 34 and 21 after a really slow start, and he's the driving force. So I made him first team. Although I still question if a team led by Donovan Mitchell, a 6'3" shooting guard, will ever win the championship. Um, my second team, I have Anthony Edwards, Luca, Kevin Durant, Jamal Murray, and Jalen Brunson. So Durant, Murray, and Brunson all played at least 50 games. Durant played 51. Jamal and Brunson played 50. I already talked about Luca. Ant-Man's played 46 games. He's having a fantastic year. I don't know. He doesn't get talked about. I don't know why. He's kind of almost like he doesn't get talked about as much as Shea or Cade or uh, Luca. It's weird. So like he's reached that point where he's just so he's expected to be fantastic, and he is. But for some reason he doesn't get the same fanfare. I'm not gonna say fanfare, but I should say like people. Nobody mentions Anthony Edwards in the MVP discussion, but I mean, I suppose he shouldn't be in the MVP discussion, but uh, I don't know. I guess in a strange way, he doesn't get quite. He's not quite as much of a media. Um, I mean, he's kind of more popular with the fans than he is with the media. Um, then at my third team, I have Tyrese Maxey, who's played 52 games. Devin Booker, Alfred Sengun, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jalen Duran. Um, now, when it comes to my awards ballot at the midseason point, so for MVP, I gave it to Shea Gilgeous. Um, to me, it's a three-man race between Gilgeous Alexander and Cade Cunningham. Those are the two best, leading the two best teams in basketball. And then Jaylen Brown. Like I said, Jaylen Brown having his Scottie Pippen year. Um, the year that Scottie Pippen had in '94, the year after Jordan retired, when he averaged, wasn't so much the average, it was the fact that he averaged like 22, 8, and 5, something like that. Of course, they went from a 56 win team the year before with Jordan won the title to it was 54, 55 wins in '94 without Jordan. And Hakeem ended up winning the MVP for being and obviously the best player on a Houston team that I believe had the best record in the league that year, or at least in the West. Um, but numbers wise, Hakeem scored more. You know, Pippen was never a 1A offensive option like that. He had to be for the Bulls that year, but pretty much his scoring average didn't change without Jordan in the lineup. Jaylen Brown averaging 29 a game, which is a career high. He's averaged 26, 27 a game before, but it is a career high for him. Um, and like I said, the Celtics are 35 and 19 somehow, even with the losses that they've taken on their roster. But at the end of the day, it's close between Cade and Shea. If you want to give it to Cade just because Shea already won one last year, that's fine. But Shea leading the league in scoring, crazy efficiency. Uh, and J Dub, Jalen Williams has missed a bunch of games. The caveat there is that they seem to play better without Jalen Williams. But yeah, I have Shea as my MVP. My defensive player of the year is Scotty Barnes. Obviously, you could go Wemby there, but Wemby doesn't. He's probably not going to end up playing enough games. My most improved player. This one was tough. First, I had Jalen Duran, who has gone from being a 12 and 12 guy basically to like an 18 and 11 guy. So he just upped his offensive game, and now the Pistons are first in the East. He could be a big reason for that. Michael Porter Jr. was another candidate. He's shown just how good he actually is. He can be with his own team, although Brooklyn is terrible. Keontae George of the Jazz. He's taken a step forward, though the Jazz still suck. Jalen Johnson, um, having his true breakout year this year. I already knew he was good, but he's gotten even better this year. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, also for the Hawks, who's gone from average 9 points a game last year to 20 points a game this year, in a new role with the Hawks after coming over from the Timberwolves via free agency. But at the end of the day, my most improved player goes to Denny Avdia of the Trailblazers, mainly because all those other guys, and I know Avdia was a good player too, but I would say we consider all things. The fact that the Blazers right now would be in the play-in, they're like 2 games under 500 in the West. The thing about Nickeil Alexander-Walker is that he's only shooting 43%, which I don't like. But Avdia, I mean, he's gone from average, I think it was 17 points a game last year. He was like 25, 6, and 7 this year. So it's just been such a huge jump. I would say out of all these players, he's the one who has made the biggest improvement um, as far as just how I view him. Like I said, I already knew he was a good player, but he's just gone to a completely different level, you know. And like I said, Nikhil Alexander Walker, I don't like his lack of efficiency. Although he made a big jump too from being a 10-point scorer to a 20-point scorer. But overall, I would have to say Denny Avdia is my most improved player. Uh, my rookie of the year, that's going to be a co-rookie of the year between Cooper Flag, who I may have been wrong about. I mean, I didn't think he was a 1A offensive option type player. But, I mean, as a rookie, he's been absolutely phenomenal, averaging 20 points per game, and he's only going to get better. He's super competitive. He's big for his position. And, like I said, I think like he's still growing. So he's just a monster. And then, the other person is Con Knipple, his, Duke teammate, who's completely, he's changed the culture there in Charlotte. So it's really amazing because Lamelo's been there. Miles Bridges, he's been there. You know, Brandon Miller coming back helped too. But I would say more than anybody, Brandon Miller was had been there a couple of years. But Colin Knipple, he's changed things in Charlotte. So in most years, either one of these guys would get the award to themselves. But in a year like this, I would have to say I can't pick one over the other. My sixth man of the year is A.J. Mitchell, with my runner-up being Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Nuggets, and then my coach of the year is J.B. Bickerstaff, who's he has the Pistons at 40-13, so they're obviously on a 60-win pace. So he's done an amazing job. And then I want to say something also about the this NBA draft class. I kind of talked about this earlier. I talked about AJ DeBance. When I say earlier, I mean it was a couple months ago now. But I talked about AJ DeBansta, and then I also talked about Kion or Keon. I'm actually not sure how you say his first name, but Carmelo's kid at Syracuse, and then Bryce James, who's redshirting at Arizona. But based on those three people, when I was younger, I was the type of college basketball fan that I knew, all the players and the prospects and stuff like that. Now that I'm older, I have a different relationship with college basketball, and I sort of just wait until the tournament to start paying attention, and then it comes to draft stuff and stuff like that. But this year, like I mentioned the Banster already, right? Carmelo's kid is sort of like I saw this clip where the coach said like, he didn't play, and the coach was like, "Well, I just didn't play him," right? And so, and then Brock said Bryce is redshirt, but these others that I've become aware of now. I already knew about Cam Boozer and his brother, but Cam Boozer's a big time prospect, a big man out of Duke, Carlos Boozer's kid, and then there's Drew Peterson at Kansas, and also Caleb Wilson at North Carolina. The thing I like about this is that you're talking Duke, Kansas, and Carolina. You're talking about three blue blood programs, and they all have guys who are expected to be top 5 picks in the NBA draft. So at least top 5, 6, 7, something like that. And so you're talking about blue blood programs that have big time players, which is regular for Duke, but more recently, not so much for Kansas. At least since the days of that year they had Embiid and and Andrew Wiggins. You know, Roy Williams, he didn't really, other than Paul Pierce, he didn't really, the same thing, that kind of bleeds into what happened at Carolina. Under Dean Smith, Carolina was known for having big time, they were after UCLA and Wooden, they then became North Carolina, that became the school that produced the best NBA players. And that continued through Dean Smith, but after Dean Smith left, uh, you know, it wasn't really like that anymore. And I think it's because Roy came in and took over, and that's not really how Roy does. It's not how he recruits or builds his team. He likes to have veteran teams. Um, so it's kind of like a throwback. Caleb Wilson in that regard is kind of like a throwback to those days for North Carolina. And then Drew Peterson, like I said, they haven't had anybody, with his type of, draft stock since Embiid and Wiggins. And I think Bill Self normally doesn't recruit like that either. Um, but yeah, if it were me, I would, I think most mock drafts have Drew Peterson going number one. The issue with Drew Peterson is people are questioning his love for the game because he doesn't he's only, for like 11 games, 13 games, or something like that. A very talented scorer, you know, and he doesn't really pass the ball. So what that means is that you look at him and go, okay, well, think of how much better he can get if he starts passing the ball and if he starts actually playing, right? Um, DeBansta, who I'm blown away by, the issue with DeBansta is that he basically is so good already that it makes you question how much better he can get. Like he's leading the nation in scoring. He's a freshman. He's leading the nation in scoring. He's super efficient, shooting 54% from the field. He averages 3.5 assists per game. You know, um, I went on NBA Draft .net because when I was a youngster and I was super into this type of stuff, they were my go-to. I always like to look at their NBA comparisons for college and high school kids. For DeBanster, they compared DeBanster to Tracy McGrady. I could definitely see that. They compared Drew Peterson to James Harden and Devin Booker. They compared Caleb Wilson to Jermaine O'Neal and Chris Bosh. I like that Jermaine O'Neal. And I was trying to figure out who to compare Caleb Wilson to because really there's no more power forwards other than Giannis. But Wilson can, he can stroke that thing. Pause. Which obviously Giannis is not known for his shooting ability or his jump shot. And they compared Carlos Boozer to Al Horford, which was interesting. Once again, the power forward position is hard to kind of rate these guys or make comparisons because there's really no more power forwards. But see, the thing with DeManster, I think, is that I would say it's an 99% chance for the one he's super NBA ready. You know, depending on where he goes, I think if you look at the worst teams in the league, they all have, they still have guys who can play. If it was like back in the old days, when might get drafted to a team that just has nobody, he probably averaged 25 points a game as a rookie. You know, um, I would say there's a 99% chance that he comes in right away. He's just fantastic, and then within a couple of years, he's averaging 28 to 30 points a game. And he just continues to fine tune the different parts of his game and just get better and better. But there is that small chance also. I think that he's you have the Tyreek Evans thing, where you have a kid he's NBA ready, and then he doesn't get any better, and with Tyreek he sort of kept going backwards and backwards. But yeah, even if he's get him and he just stays with, like Glenn Robinson was so good at Purdue, right? And then he had like 30 and 10 at Purdue, and in the league he never averaged 25 points a game, right? So sometimes it's better to get a kid who, like, you think about it, it's just some exceptions, but like you think about Michael Jordan, you think about Charles Barkley, you think about Akeem. Uh, they weren't putting up huge numbers in college. Carmelo averaged 20 and 10, but he ended up being a 10 or 30 point scorer in the NBA. You know what? Because college is harder to score just because of the coaches micromanage things. Like the famous quote was, Dean Smith was the only person who could average who could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game, right? So the NBA has always been, it's like more wide open. It's a stars league, and it allows guys to expand their game and put up better numbers most of the time they put up in college. That's why I look at somebody like Demanston, who's already putting up the numbers he's putting up. It's like, damn, this guy's so good. How much better can he get, right? But yeah, I think he's. If it were me, I would make him the number one pick. And I just think there's no question I don't think about how much he wants it. And I take that 1% chance that he's already as good as he's going to be. Right? And then, Drew Peterson, you take him and just hope that the hope is that it's college basketball that he's not interested in, but he's just forced to play. And then once he gets to the NBA, he'll want to actually be on the court. That's the hope. Uh, and then we'll just see what happens with the other two power guys, the power forwards. But yeah, I just wanted to say something about the college game right there. All right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network, and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to Complete Lakers Podcast at gmail.com. I am out.